Lu Shang wiped the blood from his hands. Another Dark Demon Society member is down. He'd lost count of how many he'd taken out by now, but fodder was still fodder, no matter how many they sent. Glancing at the communication device from his latest guest, he guessed it probably had a tracking feature. If he kept it on him, the Dark Demon Society should be able to locate him. He was curious how many of them were brave, or perhaps foolish enough to keep coming. But by sunrise tomorrow, he'd be done playing around. At his current speed, he could reach the capital within a few hours, faster than a plane. However, his real goal was to get rid of Heing Sue, and he needed to stay in top shape in case anything unexpected happened. Plus, he figured he'd give the Dark Demon Society a fair chance to catch up. After all, he didn't want them to fall too far behind. As he turned to leave, a thought struck him. Killing Heing Sue wouldn't have too many consequences, but as the wife of a Jadao martial saint, he needed to ensure it didn't lead back to him, an alibi. Now that could work. Maybe he'd create some chaos elsewhere at the exact time of her death. With a plan forming, he took out his phone and dialed a number. On the other end, a surprised voice answered none other than Heing Sue, our boy's future waifu too. Lu Sheng casually asked her when the Chen family's birthday banquet was scheduled. She replied it was tomorrow evening, sounding curious and wanting to know why he was asking. Lu Sheng chuckled, saying he was just looking out for her. He already knew how these family banquets usually went. He assumed there was always some jerk trying to make trouble for anyone who wasn't fully accepted in the family, like her, for example. And he didn't want anyone bullying her. After a pause, he added with a smirk, "Come to think of it, she's practically the perfect main character template for a romance novel. Unaccepted by the family, standing tall despite it all, the whole thing." On the other hand, Heing Sue didn't know how to respond. She told him there was no need for all that. She was practically invisible at Chen family events, so no one would bother her. But Lu Sheng, already set on his perfect plan, told her it was decided. She just needed to send him the address, and he'd be there on time tomorrow night to back her up. With that, he hung up. Heing Sue stared at her phone, a bit dazed, wondering what exactly Lu Sheng was planning this time. Meanwhile, Lu Sheng pocketed his phone with a satisfied grin. Perfect. His plan was flawless. Take down Heing Sue, then show up at the Chen family banquet and stir up some chaos. Whether or not Heing Sue needed his help was beside the point. If he said he was going to have her back, she'd just have to go along with it. Simple as that. Hours passed, and the sun had fully set. In a dark forest clearing, a young couple was cozied up just outside their tent, gazing at the sky. Despite her thick jacket, the girl shivered and hugged herself. She pouted, asking the boy if he was messing with her. She couldn't see a single star. How was she supposed to believe there'd be a meteor shower? The boy, rubbing his cold nose, assured her he'd checked the forecast. It was supposed to be a once-in-a-millennium Pegasus meteor shower. In truth, he'd exaggerated to get her out there for a cozy night alone. He took the chance to suggest they warm up inside the tent. After a moment of hesitation, she nodded, and he began wrapping an arm around her shoulders. But just then, the girl gasped and looked up, saying there's actually a shooting star, a golden one too. The boy looked up, equally shocked to see a golden streak cutting across the sky, which he hadn't expected at all. The show wasn't over. A second light appeared in the sky, this time a streak of red, heading straight for the golden one. They collided, and an explosion lit up the night. The boy hurriedly pulled out his telescope, his jaw dropping. 2 meteors colliding? That was anything but normal. As he looked closer, he noticed something even more unbelievable. There were people inside. On the other side, Lu Sheng landed gracefully, brushing the dust off his clothes and chuckling to himself. Who would have thought he'd get knocked to the ground one day? He looked ahead, intrigued by the swirling red vortex nearby. Looked like the Dark Demon Society had finally sent someone worthwhile. Emerging from the whirlwind was a woman who wasted no time, charging straight at him. As she dashed over, her after images appeared, surrounding Lu Sheng from all directions. In response, Lu Sheng's will projection countered her attack effortlessly. After a brief exchange, he looked at her with satisfaction and said, "Not bad." Lu Sheng knew that advancing from an 8th-level Great Grandmaster to a 9th-level Martial Saint required a seamless fusion of mind, body, and spirit. Harnessing universal energy to construct a martial avatar, he sensed that this woman was close, just one final step away. Samajina's eyes gleamed as she observed Lu Sheng's calm demeanor. "No wonder so many have died at your hands," she said, her voice soft but edged with danger. Acknowledging his strength, she took a step toward him. But Lu Sheng, relaxed and almost dismissive, replied, "If that's all you've got, this might be a waste of my time tonight." Instead of being provoked, she smiled with a wicked glint in her eyes, asking our boy if that's all he's got. While licking her lips, she continued saying, then he wouldn't get the chance to say that again. Suddenly, a surge of immense energy erupted from her, enveloping the area. Leaning forward, she told Lu Sheng he should feel honored, as he was the first in 5 years to witness her ultimate form. Under the moonlight, her transformation began. A single horn emerged from her head, and her lower body morphed into that of a horse. Odd as it looked, Lu Sheng could feel her power skyrocketing. Though he didn't seem particularly impressed, in the next instant she vanished. For a split second, Lu Sheng blinked. She was fast enough to actually catch him off guard. Before he knew it, her powerful kick sent him flying. And before he could recover, she reappeared above him, slamming both hands down with incredible force. She didn't stop there. A blast of energy erupted from her mouth, causing the ground to explode beneath them, and leaving a massive crater over 100 meters wide. Energy waves rippled outward, and a cloud of dust billowed into the night. "It's over," she murmured, her face calm as she surveyed the devastation below, almost as if she had anticipated this outcome from the start. Then a faint rustling sound emerged from the ground. Lu Sheng's voice broke through the silence, sounding almost disappointed with her transformation. He asked if her ultimate form merely allowed her to slightly increase the ceiling of a great grandmaster. She turned, looking startled, only to see him emerge from the crater completely unscathed, dusting himself off. She pointed out that she hadn't even reached that level yet. A flicker of disbelief crossed her face. She said, "But Lu Sheng is just a great grandmaster too. How can he be unharmed after taking her full power attack? Who exactly is he?" As the dust settled, Lu Sheng's low voice cut through the night, saying he is someone on the verge of reaching the peak of martial arts. And as for her, she's no longer worth his time. In the next second, a terrifying aura erupted from within him, gathering all his strength into his fist.